Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be talking about the Sony Spider-Man spin-off universe. After their massive failure at the box office with the movies they've been putting out, Madam Web, Morbius, Kraven, some of the Venom movies, obviously they've been going down in box office revenue as well, so it's not been looking good for the Sony Spider-Man spin-off universe, and a lot of people are feeling that Sony is basically going to cancel this. They're not going to make any more of these movies because they've just driven the kind of idea into the ground, and these movies have been so poorly received, and it's just not looking good whatsoever. In this article, it talks about an upcoming Sony Marvel movie that's now been cancelled. Is this a sort of indication of what's to come, that they're just outright cancelling this kind of villain universe of Spider-Man characters? It's hard to tell at this point, but let's jump into this article, break down this information, and potentially see what's going on with the Sony Spider-Man spin-off universe. So this comes to us from Cosmic Book News. Sony cancels Marvel release date, Spider-Man spin-off universe is likely over. Like I said, a lot of people speculated that Sony is basically going to be done with making these movies because they just did such a bad job. They were so well received. Kraven, the last movie that came out, the marketing actually looked pretty good, and a lot of people were excited to see the Kraven movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson in there, you know, he's a fantastic actor. It looks like it was going to be quite a fun movie, R-rated as well. But when it came out, it just flopped on its face. It made no money, and it was kind of the cherry on the disappointing cake, if you like. So, Sony has officially cancelled a planned release date for an untitled Marvel movie. We get word via Deadline in an update about Sony's release schedule that Sony yanked the release date for a Marvel flick. It says, Sony also said this evening that it has unset a June 27th, 2025 release date for an untitled Sony Marvel movie. So we don't know exactly what that movie is. I don't think it actually says here in the article what that is. But it looks like they're potentially either shuffling around their release dates and their schedules, or they're outright cancelling Marvel Sony movies that they did have planned. So going down here, so what was the movie? Okay, so we have some information here. I believe that the Sony Marvel movie may have been El Muerto. The Spider-Man spin-off originally starring Bad Bunny. No other Sony Marvel movie was in the works that I can think of, as the Venom franchise is finished with the third movie, and there were no planned sequels for Morbius, Madam Web, or Kraven. They would have to be out of their damn minds to create a sequel for any of those movies, which is be insane. And obviously we have heard about El Muerto. It's kind of like this Mexican wrestler type villain. Very, very kind of left field character, if you like. I don't think a lot of people have heard of him, and Bad Bunny was supposed to be in that role as well, and I don't think Bad Bunny is exactly a great actor from what I know, so the movie had a bit of a recipe for a disaster in my opinion. We have a El Muerto, a character that nobody really knows or cares about, and we have Bad Bunny, someone who doesn't really have a strong acting background as far as I know. Put them together, that's not exactly a recipe for a great kind of Spider-Man villain movie. So it could have gone the way of Kraven, basically. So the fact that they've, you know, yanked the release date for this movie, that was probably a good thing. Okay, so where are we? El Muerto has been on again, off again, and back in January we saw that it is said on... we saw it said it was on again without Bad Bunny, but it's not going to happen. So it looks like, you know, 1 minute it's been cancelled, then it's been revived, then it's been cancelled, then it's been revived, but it's been revived without Bad Bunny. So it's kind of like all over the place. We don't really know if it's officially been cancelled or if it will make a reappearance. We don't know how far into production they got with the movie either. So it'll be interesting to see if this movie does rear its head at some point. There was also chatter about a possible Sinister Six movie. Please don't tackle a Sinister Six movie. I mean, if you can't even nail a Kraven movie, or you can't nail down a Madam Web or a Morbius type movie, how the hell are you going to make a Sinister Six movie, you know, a great movie, Sinister Six? I think they would just end up destroying it. There was also chatter about a possible Sinister Six movie, maybe Silver Sable or Black Cat, but those aren't happening either. So what happened with Sony Marvel? Sony Marvel has completely collapsed, really. Only the first Venom movie was any good, and it was decent, at best. It also made $856 million, while its two sequels, which are horrendous, made around less than $500 million. Like I said, so Morbius, Madam Web, Kraven, all basically received really bad, bombed at the box office. Then we had the first Venom movie, which made a really, massive amount at the box office, $856 million, which is insane. Then the next two Venom movies came out, and the box office just went down and down and down. as they kind of plummeted the Spider-Man villain universe into the ground. Of course, Morbius bombed with 167 million. Then Madam Web massively tanked with 100 million, followed by Kraven laughably bringing in 61 million. So guys, if you want any proof that this universe just absolutely just collapsed, exploded into oblivion, Morbius 167 million, Madam Web then went down to 100 million, and then Kraven only brought in 61 million. 61 million, that's insane. Some movies make more than that in their opening weekend, you know, so it's just wow. So what happened is that Sony didn't respect the source material or the fans. So what has Sony said? A Sony producer, who should probably retire, has said that he thought that Kraven and Madam Web were good films and blamed the failures of the press for not wanting movies about the characters without Spider-Man. The executive in charge of Sony Marvel has also exited Sony. I can completely understand why he did. You know, these movies had done really bad, so he thought, shit, I'm gonna cut my losses and I'm gonna, you know, hightail it out of there. So yeah, a Sony producer who should probably retire. He thought that Kraven and Madam Web were good films and blamed the failures on the press for not wanting movies about the characters without Spider-Man. So yeah, he did come out and, you know, make a quote about it's the fact that, you know, the press, the movie outlets are basically, you know, wanting this universe to fail because there's no Spider-Man in it, and they're kind of shit-talking the movies, and that's what's led to the bad box office. Not the fact that they made bad movies, it's the fact that the press are kind of dogging on their movies. So they're kind of living in La La Land. They don't actually think their movies are bad, which is just insane. So, what's next for Sony Marvel? According to reports and rumors, what is next for Sony Marvel is that Sony will be concentrating on Spider-Man 4 and the third Spider-Verse movie. It has been said that Sony is going to focus on Spider-Man instead of related characters. That also said to include Spider-Man multiverse versions, such as Nicolas Cage's Spider-Noir series, maybe more. Yeah, obviously we've got the Nicolas Cage Spider-Noir series coming out on Amazon Prime. I'm really looking forward to that. I love Nick Cage. I love Spider-Man Noir. Obviously, he voiced the character in the Spider-Verse movies, so the fact that he's coming in to do the live-action version as well is really, really exciting. And I mean, Nicolas Cage, he's just a national treasure. The guy's great in everything that he's in. So I'm looking forward to the Spider-Noir series. But yeah, it's not looking good here for Sony and their Spider-Man villain universe, if you like. Every single movie has progressively made less and less money. It's got worse and worse at the box office. Where do they go from here? I mean, do they try and reboot the universe? Do they just continue on, continue making these movies? I mean, if you was the executive at Sony, what would you do next? Or as a fan, if you had a choice, what would you do next? Just continue as normal, reboot the universe? You know, like, what kind of direction would you go next? It'd be interesting to see what Sony do with this Marvel content in the future. But guys, I throw it off to you. Jump in the comment section. You hear this news about Sony cancelling this upcoming Marvel kind of Sony movie. And do you think that they're done, or do you think they will continue on as normal? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, guys. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you think. As always, make sure you hit the like button before you leave, and consider becoming a subscriber of the content if you haven't already. It goes a long way to helping out my channel, so I always appreciate that. And as always, I will see you in the next video.